Good morning. It's day 2 on my treatment plan. It's Tuesday. We had the first one yesterday. Seemed to go all right, though I didn't get back till very late in the evening. But feeling okay. Trusting in Jesus for the future, whatever that brings, because we know that we're in a win-win situation. We either go to be with Jesus forever, or we stay here and we serve him, one or the other. I'd like to just share a little bit about a bigger picture issue today. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 11, I hope you will put up with me in a little foolishness. Yes, please put up with me. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promised you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the snake's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it easily enough. There were false teachers coming into the church in Corinth, preaching a slightly different version of the gospel, probably one by works, justifying themselves by how they perform. And this is true on the left and the right politically. Progressive liberal Christians emphasize justice issues like racism, poverty. Conservative Christians emphasize issues like sexuality, abortion. And they're very selective on the issues that they concentrate on. And this is inconsistency. The early church was in favor of the poor, but also against abortion. It was in favor of sexual purity, but also against the imperial domination of the Roman Empire. And so there's a balance politically between left and right. You get people like Matthew, who was a collaborator with the Roman occupiers. He was a tax collector. That didn't mean a nice man in a grey suit, as it means today. It meant a thug who would have his own protection racketeers, who would threaten people and extort money off them and give the tribute to the Roman occupiers. At the same time, you have Simon, who was a terrorist, a guerrilla fighter like the Taliban, who would be trying to assassinate someone like Matthew. And they were both followers of Jesus. Judas was called Iscariot, which meant a dagger man. He was a secret assassin. He would carry a dagger in order to kill collaborators. So within the discipleship group of Jesus, you get left and right, progressive and reactionary people. But I want to share with you something that happened on Saturday. It was a privilege to be able to see reports that our worship group, or some of our worship group, was leading worship at the Scripture Union National Conference. And that's a privilege to be asked to do that. It's great because we have so many gifted, talented musicians in our worship group that we were still able to field a really wonderful worship service on Sunday morning, led by Rebecca as well. One of the programs which Scripture Union has is the 95%. And they've worked out that 95% of children and young adults have no meaningful contact with church. How are they going to hear the gospel? How are they going to do that? I was talking with Alan about the conference afterwards, and he's going to talk to a few of the leaders in the church with a view to tightening up our children and our teens ministry, especially the teens that went up from primary to secondary school. That transition hasn't been handled that well because we know that I've been ill, and also Rochelle has been unwell as well. What we do as a church is we look at the church as an ecosystem. It's a tension, it's a balance. As a pastor, you have to look at the individuals and shepherd the individuals, but also look at it as an entire system of interdependencies. And this means we need to have vision and we need to have plans. In the new year, there will be a vision day which Alan is planning. And from there, we hope that we will be able to discern God's direction for the future. One of the things that we need to do as a church is to devolve responsibility and decision making and push the power to the edges. That's why we have so many leaders, coordinators, responsible for different areas of church life, because they have initiative and they have ideas and they can go forwards on what they hear God saying to them. And this is important for the church to move forward. We create champions. I remember when I was in West London, whenever I visited somebody in hospital, there was always a lady that had always been there before me. She's from the Sudan, called Aziza. She made the most beautiful falafels in the world. They're nice, warm, beautiful things. If you're listening, Aziza, I'd really love one of your falafels this morning. It's about empowerment. Now, to some extent, a white male like me cannot empower a black female. But what I can do is create the conditions where God can raise you up into the destiny that he has for you. One of the models that we're using is the purpose-driven church for KCBC. And this comprises 5 M's, easy to remember: membership, maturity, ministry, mission, magnification. Magnification means prayer and worship. Mission is outreach, social action, international evangelism. Ministry is serving within the church but also outside the church. Maturity is growing discipleship, one-to-ones, maybe small groups. And membership is becoming a member of the church. Becoming a member is not an optional extra. We expect you to become a member of the church, to be committed to the local church. There are other good churches in London. Join those if God leads you, but join a church. And so there is partnership in that structure, and it helps us to cover the 5 bases of the church. So I want to just encourage you to think a little bit about the future of the church at KCBC. Think about your own role within it. Don't get led astray into false teaching. One of the nice things that's been happening is that Giovanna designed these invitation cards. So we've had a number of these printed out. They should be available in the church. She's quite subtle and creative. You'll see there's some little designs there. You can actually see in the background, in shade, in shadow, the front of the church, the cross. It's quite tastefully done. And we're going to put some details on the back where people can leave their name and contact details as well. So this is going to be useful. I carry these around with me at the moment. I'm traveling around by hospital ambulance quite a lot, and I get talking to people, passengers, staff members, and I'm just able to say, hey, I'm a pastor of a church. If you ever want to come down, come and join us. You'll be really welcome. Just say you met me. Hopefully that'll be sufficient welcome. So the balance of church, collective and individual, a body, but also individual people as well. So I'll just encourage you, ask God to show you his place in the body today. All right? And I'll be in touch.